There are some letters that were never meant to be read. They are written in moments when the world goes silent, when fame becomes a cage, and a man, no matter how powerful, no matter how praised, is left alone with only the truth of his pain and a pen. That was the kind of letter Davido wrote, and for 7 long years it remained sealed, hidden in the back of an old hand-carved drawer in a dusty room of his father's estate in Lagos. No one was ever supposed to find it, not his aides, not his lawyer, not even Kioma. But one rainy Tuesday morning, a letter that had been buried under silence was brought to light by a man who never should have opened that drawer. The man's name was Fictional, a quiet, reserved archivist Davido's father hired to digitize old family files. He wasn't a celebrity watcher. He didn't care much for music. He just loved order, documents, dust, and discipline. When Fictional stumbled on the envelope, cream-colored, heavy, sealed in wax, he paused. There was no label, no date, only one line, written in dark ink. If you find this, you weren't meant to. But the seal was already brittle from time. It cracked the moment he picked it up, and what he read next left his hands trembling. I don't know who you are or why you're reading this, but if you are, I need you to understand something. I am not who they think I am. Not entirely. Before I became Davido, before the tours, the awards, the madness, I was a boy who was never allowed to cry. That's how it began. It wasn't a song. It wasn't a press statement. It was the unraveling of a soul, raw, tortured, and disturbingly honest. Fictional didn't finish the letter that day. He couldn't. He said it felt like invading a sacred place. But what he did next would turn the private pain of one of Africa's biggest stars into a story that shook the continent. Fictional didn't go to the press. He didn't sell the story to the highest bidder. He went to one man, a man who had spent 6 years trying and failing to write a documentary on Davido's life. Tunde Ajani, a reclusive filmmaker, once a protege of Kunle Afolayan, now living in quiet exile after being blacklisted for a controversial expose on corruption in Nollywood. When Tunde read the letter, he wept. And then, after 2 weeks of fasting and prayer, he decided the world needed to hear this, but not as gossip, as testimony. If there's one thing I've learned, the letter read, it's that fame gives you everything except peace. For 7 years, the world had seen Davido as a giant, a cultural colossus walking in diamonds, jetting across oceans, commanding stages, breaking charts, and smiling wide for cameras even when his soul was collapsing. But the man behind that name, David Adedeji Adeleke, was haunted, not by the mistakes the public knew, but by the ones they never heard about. There's a part of my story no one has ever known, not even my closest friends. It began the day I met her. Her name was Amaka. Long before the world knew Kioma, before the mainstream fame, there was a girl from Nsukka, a law student, a poet, and the only woman who ever called him David, never OBO. They met at a youth event in Enugu. No cameras, no screams, just a spark. She challenged him. She laughed at his arrogance. She saw through the chains of his celebrity and into the brokenness of the boy inside. With Amaka, I was human again. I could cry. I could be afraid. I could rest. But Amaka wasn't meant for the spotlight. She hated the flashing lights. She was a dreamer who wrote letters to God in the margins of her law textbooks. Their love was a secret, hidden even from Davido's circle, until it all went wrong. I still remember the call. It was 2:14 a.m. I was in London preparing for Wireless Festival. The voice on the other end said 4 words I'll never forget. She didn't make it, sir. Amaka had been in a car headed to her NYSC orientation camp. A drunk driver had swerved across a rainy highway. She died on impact. No headlines, no tabloids, no tweets, just silence. She was gone, just like that. And I couldn't even mourn her publicly. I had a show the next night. I performed and I smiled, and I died inside. The letter was originally addressed to her parents, but Davido never sent it. He rewrote it, again and again, for 7 years. Each version soaked in more regret, more questions, more silence. And when Tunde Ajani read it, that letter became the backbone of a documentary never released. A story told only in whispers among insiders. Until now. 3 weeks after Tunde received the letter, someone hacked into his cloud folder. It wasn't clear whether it was sabotage or fate, but suddenly the contents were leaked to a private online forum. Within 12 hours, screenshots were trending on dark web channels. By day 2, excerpts had found their way onto WhatsApp groups across Nigeria. And on day 3, the world knew. Davido had hidden a different kind of pain. A story never monetized, never explained, never sung about. For a while, people didn't believe it. They thought the letter was fake, another cheap PR stunt or AI-generated gossip. But then something happened. Davido went silent. Not a tweet, not a story, not a press statement. For a man known to break silence quickly, the stillness was louder than any denial. And just like that, Nigeria, and much of Africa, was pulled into an emotional frenzy. This wasn't for us to read. Twitter became flooded with hashtags. Shaku Davido letter, Minari, 7, years of silence, showing the pain behind the glory. Some were sympathetic. I never knew this guy had such depth. Maybe we've been too harsh on him. Fame is a prison. That letter broke me. Others were angry. Why leak something so sacred? This was his private grief. This isn't content. This is confession. A famous Ghanaian psychologist even did a live stream breakdown, analyzing the emotional trauma hidden between the letter's lines. This isn't a celebrity crying for attention, she said. It's a man who never got to heal, who was forced to perform through heartbreak. Within days, the entertainment industry couldn't keep quiet. WizKid, in a rare moment of vulnerability, tweeted, "We all go through things, even kings bleed." Tiwa Savage wrote on her Instagram story, "I wish you peace, David. This world hasn't been kind to you. May your soul find rest, even while you live." Even Burna Boy, often known for friction with Davido, posted a black screen with one line, "Sometimes the loudest ones are hurting the most." After nearly 10 days of silence, the pressure hit a boiling point. At a private music conference in Dubai, where Davido was supposed to unveil a new project, journalists swarmed him backstage. "Is the letter real?" one asked. "Do you regret hiding it?" another shouted. Davido didn't respond immediately, but then he turned to the cameras, took off his designer shades, and said one line that shook the room. "Pain is a song I never wanted to write, but maybe now I will." And he walked off. No press conference, no explanation, just truth, standing tall in silence. That night, Davido posted a cryptic video, a black screen, no visuals, just his voice, raw and stripped. For Amaka, for what we never got to say, and for everyone smiling on the outside, dying on the inside. Then, a piano melody began. No beats, no auto-tune, just keys and a voice that trembled. The chorus, "I lit a candle in a place you never saw. I wrote your name where no one ever goes. But if heaven has a stage and God allows the pain, I'll sing your name again." It wasn't released on Spotify. It wasn't monetized. It was uploaded once to YouTube and disappeared after 48 hours. But those who heard it say it was the most human Davido had ever been. They say grief comes in waves, but healing comes in storms. And for Davido, the leak of that letter wasn't just a scandal, it was a reckoning. For the first time in his entire career, the world no longer saw OBO, the flashy, confident Afrobeat king. They saw David, the boy from Atlanta, the son who lost his mother young, the man who had buried more than he could carry. 2 weeks after the leak, Davido disappeared. No cameras, no entourage. Just one black SUV quietly spotted on the Enugu-Onitsha Expressway. Where was he going? He was going back to Amaka's village, back to the place where it all began and ended. Locals couldn't believe it. Davido, alone, no security, no noise, walking slowly through a narrow red dirt path towards a small grave under a mango tree. He brought no flowers, just a worn-out leather-bound notebook and a candle. Eyewitnesses said he knelt for over an hour, head bowed, lips moving. Some said he was praying. Others said he was finally saying goodbye. That notebook he carried, it wasn't a diary. It wasn't lyrics. It was the original handwritten version of the letter, the one no one had seen. And when he rose, he placed it gently at the foot of her grave and whispered just one sentence before walking away. The world read what I never could say, but maybe now I can live. What happened after that moment was unexpected. Davido returned to Lagos a changed man. He canceled several concerts without apology. He stepped back from endorsements. He started a foundation, the Amaka Initiative, funding grief therapy, scholarships, and emotional literacy programs for Nigerian youth. And he released no new music for 6 months. When asked why, he simply said, "I've said too much with songs that weren't from the soul. Now I'm listening before speaking." 6 months after the storm, Davido sat down for a single interview, one-on-one. No glam, no gimmicks. And he told it all. The real love story, the grief, the hidden letter, the breakdown, and how it saved him. That interview, it broke every YouTube record in Africa within 24 hours. People think fame protects you from heartbreak, but it just delays it. I delayed mine for 7 years, but I'm done running. I'm choosing peace. A year later, exactly to the day the letter leaked, Davido announced a one-night concert in Enugu. No brand sponsors, no ticket sales, just an invite-only gathering in an open field, under stars, beside a candlelit stage. That night, he performed just 5 songs, but the last one? The same acoustic melody he uploaded and deleted. For Amaka, and this time, he didn't delete it. He left it there, permanent. The letter that was never meant to be found, the grief that was never meant to be shared, the love that never got to breathe in public, became the very thing that freed Davido from the noise of his own image. He was no longer just a celebrity. He had become something rarer, a wounded healer, an artist reborn through honesty. And Nigeria, in turn, learned something powerful, that behind every superstar is a story you'll never see on stage. If this story touched your heart, don't scroll away. Subscribe to Aftermath Stories. Like and share. Drop your thoughts in the comments. What truth did you hear in this fictional confession? Because sometimes, the most powerful stories are the ones that never made the news.